Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Wednesday night class here with Guy Finley. We have our people in the room and those of you online. We're glad you joined us tonight. Wednesday night's a little bit different, where Guy asks all of us to be a little bit more involved. He'll ask online to be involved and in the room. So let's prepare for that and put on new listening ears. If you're online and you're new, the layout for tonight is Guy will give about a 60-minute talk. We'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back for questions and answers. We'll go till about 8:30, about a 90-minute class tonight. If you have any technical issues, you can go to the GoToWebinar control panel, and there's a question box there. Or if you're on other mediums like YouTube or Facebook, there are chat boxes there, and Kate is behind the scenes administering that. And you can also go to support@guyfinley.com at any time. You can go there at any time, by the way, if you have questions, and you'll get some help there as well. So I think that's all we need to say for now. I will read the talk title and the key lesson. And it's on the screen for you in front of you and here on the board. The title is Step Over the One Great Stumbling Block to Self-Liberation. And the key lesson: a great spiritual mystery. Self-liberation is either found within what we're given to see or not at all. The only thing we escape when running from any unwanted realization is the possibility of discovering its divine purpose, whose revelation is the same as transforming and transcending it.
Good evening, everyone in the room. Thank you. And good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are joining us from out there in the world. Glad you're here. If you've never joined us on a Wednesday night, ever so briefly, it's a little bit of a difference in what we do on Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings. And that is that we, at a certain point during the material that's presented, we work together to look at things that, as a rule, we don't even know we share in common with everyone else, not just in the room and online, but in the world. And we go to some lengths to prove that, so that in part a man or a woman who was listening might be to some degree liberated from the mistaken notion that somehow or other that they are special because of what they suffer over. On Sunday, I spoke at great length, as I have been doing really for the last few classes, on a specific idea that I intend to enlarge a little bit this evening and then again on Sunday. But the heart of it was simple. I simply asked, how long do you intend to let what you fear be your God? Straightforward question. Because when you are afraid and you do what your fear tells you, it is your guide, and if it's your guide, it's your God in that moment, regardless how you profess it otherwise. And I think, though I wish it weren't so, I don't think that many of you take these things to heart. In a way, it breaks my heart, but thank God, whatever it is that's operating in this man doesn't care what my heart feels. It's insistent on you being given what you need so that one day some of you will take to heart what you hear in this room when I'm speaking. I asked you, as simple as it could be put, what's beyond fear? What's beyond fear? Because you don't know. Like one of those robots that vacuums the floor, we chug along until we run into something that produces a resistance and a summary fear of the moment that we run into, and then we believe somehow or other that the moment is powerful, that the moment actually has precedence over who and what we are. And we summarily submit ourselves to that image of precedence and the fear that's inherent in it, and we just go along our way believing that we made a choice to go left or right when we made no such choice at all. Fear made the choice for us. And I asked you, what's beyond fear? And I said to you, until you know what's beyond fear, you won't know what's beyond death. Because they are tied together. And if you're an aspirant of any measure at all, why are you tired? Why aren't you tired of dying every day only to be reborn in the same consciousness that has the same fears and runs from the same conditions in the same way that it does? It's not an accusation. It's a fact. And I know in part it's a fact that you don't really take it to heart, because I always say when we're done, maybe when we get back together, some of you will tell me not what you think about fear or how tired you are of fear and all the rest of that, but did any of you put one foot past your fear? Because if you did, you'd be shouting to the rooftops. I swear to God you would. Because you'd have been given something you couldn't give yourself, and then you'd see, my God, something educated me in a way that I didn't even know I needed to be educated, and now I see what I couldn't see before, and please God, can I see it more deeply next time? That would be what was going on. And it's all right, because part of the problem of being a sleeping human being is you don't know you're asleep. And more importantly, you don't know what it is that you are asleep in. Not what sleeps within you, what you are asleep in. A world, a level of consciousness, an order of being you are asleep in, and you don't know it. You have all the pain, all the sorrow, and the stress born of struggling with the condition, believing that what that condition points to as responsible for your conflict is the same as you knowing what happened. Instead of realizing that you've been deceived all of these years. Who can count the years? Not just this lifetime, but humankind over millennia, hating each other, fighting with each other, struggling to escape the very conditions that their own unconscious nature creates over and over again, the ceaseless reincarnation of war, because human beings themselves are the incarnation of that violence with no idea whatsoever that they actually are the source of the very thing they say causes them the suffering. So I want to look at this again with you. I get no peace. You might as well not have any. You should pray for the day that something comes and doesn't let you go to sleep. That you find yourself fighting tooth and nail with something that's saying, let me show you something more, a little deeper. And then you can begin to recognize that there is a part of you that clearly wants to know what's true, but there is a bigger part of you, certainly not dominant, but in charge right now, that wants nothing to do with knowing what is true. What's beyond fear? And not this Sunday, but probably next Wednesday night, we're going to talk about, as profound as it may sound, I hope it sounds that way to you, what's beyond death? How will I ever know what's beyond? If I live in fear of death my whole life, I don't have a life. I live the life of fear, running from its idea of death. I found this quotation. I have no idea who the person was Jacques-Élie Faure, French guy, back in the 1800s. But it's perfect. He says, the only one who adds to the spiritual wealth of humanity is the one who has the strength to become what he is. The only one who adds to the spiritual wealth of humanity is the one who has the strength to become what he is. One day that will be music to your ears when you finally understand that what you call your strength is the extent to which you run from seeing what you are when you see it, of avoiding the things that show you the truth about yourself, as if somehow or other the moment, which by the way, the real moment is always divine in nature. You live in a divine field. Your life is derived from a field that is divine in its origin. And what could possibly appear in that field that is divine in origin that would be in any way ever conceived to be something against your own best interests? And yet, every day you're shown something in the present moment about yourself and you avert your eyes. You do not want to see it at all costs, which is why you're so busy with your life, by the way. So busy being distracted. So I ask you, if the real cause, as most of us believe is true, of this fact, and I'll ask you, yes or no, I remain in a fairly constant battle with unwanted moments. Yes or no, out loud. If the real cause of those unwanted moments is, as my mind is always pointing to, someone or something to be blamed for what it is that I'm going through, if that was the case, and I have this reliable guide that shows up every time I don't want to go through something, wouldn't you think that by now I would have found a path that would release me from the pain of these unwanted moments? Geez, how many times do you have to put together a puzzle and find out you're missing a few pieces? I mean, and this is you. I can't. Don't you want peace of mind? Do you know what peace of mind is? It's the ability to be where you are, no matter what it is that's going on around you, no matter what it is that's going on within you because of what is going around you, and to be able to sit there in the center of that storm and realize that there is a center to every possible moment in existence, and that from the center of that moment you can look out and see everything come and go, and you know that it's coming and that it's going, and if you let it come and go, it leaves you purified. It leaves you a man or a woman who no longer has to identify with the condition in order to derive some familiar sense of self. Your sense of self is anchored in something completely different. How do we understand that? So take a nice deep breath. It took a little longer than I wanted to at the outset. I usually do. A little story to help set the stage for what we're looking at. Let me see like you really want to hear what I have to say. Yeah. So here's a man, and he's been happily married for some time and has a good wife. And of late, they've become immensely successful. And immensely successful is, of course, in scale, isn't it? But their life is simpler at the physical level than it was because their business has grown some roots, and it's getting to the place where it kind of has its own momentum. And things, what in this world we would say were looking up. But in spite of that, she couldn't help but notice, regardless of their good fortune, that over the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, over a period of, let's say, 6 months where they were growing their business, they were bringing people in, and everything was getting more and more settled, more secure, it would seem. But on the other hand, he himself seemed more and more disturbed, more stressed, unhappy, irritable, actually, off the cuff. And she said to him, I don't know what's going on with you, but shouldn't we be a lot more grateful? Because it doesn't feel like this is gratitude coming up inside of you. And he says, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like that. And he was sincere. but I don't know what to do about someone at work. Oh, I suspected it had something to do with someone at work, she said. Yeah, he said, that this person, one day they're encouraging, they're pleasant to be around. The next minute they're volatile, they're criticizing, full of judgment, and I think to myself, reliable, like I've been waiting my whole life, and the next day, the most unreliable human being that ever lived. He said, well, why in the world would you want to keep somebody like that on your staff? I mean, you're the CEO, get rid of him. And he looks at her and he says, yeah, I wish it were that simple. He said, besides which I've tried, and I can't. What do you mean you can't get rid of someone? You're the big cheese there. Just drop the knife. You can fire anyone. He said, no, not really. There is one person I can't fire. You're ahead of me. Don't you wish it were that simple? You're fired. You know, up comes this greed, up comes this selfishness, up comes this impatience, up comes this enabling thing that can't wait to say something good or give something, even as it resents doing. Up that comes, you're out of here. Wouldn't that be tremendous? Well, how are you doing with that? It's like a joke. What is it that's going on? Where on one hand, I can be merrily down the stream, and in the next minute, without any interaction with any particular individual and not even any special news, instead of merrily down the stream, I'm miserable on the bank, wondering how I got there, what stranded me like this, why is life like that? And that's what I want to look at with you. And the topic of this talk, the idea of there's one great stumbling block to your liberation, I tell you there actually is one great stumbling block. And I hinted at it with the story. But you don't understand it well enough, and you have to want to understand it. You have to take these ideas to heart and work with them. So what I want to do right at the outset of this talk is begin to engage with you on a particular subject so we can bring into our minds, into our eyes, because it'll be on the board, what it is that we can look at and agree we all see, and then, God willing, can we go beyond the usual understanding? Can we go beyond the superficial response to such things? That's the question. So let's put the topic up there. Let's put our list up there. And we can get everybody in the room engaged. And of course, out there, you're welcome to contribute as I want you to in the chat box. So here's what we're going to work on. What are some of the seemingly questionable, but definitely unwanted characters or qualities that you've seen in yourself, that you've struggled to change, control, or otherwise escape on a fairly regular basis, in truth, on a daily basis? What are some of the questionable but definitely unwanted characters or qualities you've seen in yourself that you struggle to change, control, or otherwise escape on a daily basis? I've already got hands, so I don't have to prime the pump here. We got a lot of people that don't want stuff here. Let's start with Chica. I struggle with this mad, small Japanese person who is obsessed with getting things done now. That's it, she said, yes. Patricia. Yes. I'm confronted. I suffer from my own impatience, because that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Over on the board already, Jackie, impatience, she put up. Rob K, seeking approval. Deborah K, procrastination. Rebecca, being the martyr. Let's go in a room. Barbara. I am the consummate judgment of all things inferior to myself. Basically, and please, to put this in the pipe and to smoke it, so to speak, I mean, I know this about myself. I'm struggling all the time, if I'm working at all, to get past, Denise says, being the complainer. John T., the need to rush through things. And he's not even Japanese. Tony, the fixer. I am in everybody's business. And if I'm not in everybody's business, I'm fixing the world. Because whatever it needs to be fixed, I can do it. The problem is that I'm a slave to being the fixer. Hands, Terry. Insistent. I am insistent. That's a euphemism for I meet everybody with the demand that they see and do what I want them to be and to do. And it's very painful, and not only painful to me, but it's painful to everybody that I'm encountering all the time. That's why when you walk towards people, they walk the other way, Terry. I just want you to know that, okay? Speaking of Roger. I am the master blamer. There are people that are dead and I'm still blaming them. And it's painful. But you see, you agree, you all nod your heads. Yeah, I know that's painful. You don't know it's painful. Don't you understand that's what we're looking at? We're going to go to the list still. If you knew it was painful, you couldn't do it. So you don't know it's painful. Something's hiding in the pain. Something beyond the pain you don't see, because that's what we're looking at tonight. Over to the board. Sarcastic humor. The angry ogre that appears when least expected. Yeah, the werewolf, the Frankenstein, some monster unbeckoned that makes me into whatever it wants to make me into as soon as it's awakened from its deep, dark lair. Yeah? Deborah M., suffering over being around other people. Boy, but when we're done, Deborah, if you're listening, you will never be able to believe again as long as you live that it's other people that make you suffer. Wouldn't that be something in itself? Because I could get beyond the false idea, couldn't I? Joan. Worry. No, not you, Joan. Queen of not letting go says, I can't let go. I worry all the time. Wayne, yes. Know it all. Yes, you are. Know it all. I know everything. Just ask me. Mike. Want to punish wrongdoers. You see, he couldn't just say wanting to punish people, but see, no, this is systematic, because he actually thinks that wanting to punish wrongdoers. Because I wouldn't want to punish a right doer. I only want to punish people who are not like me. Over to the list. Perpetual anticipation. Yes, that's a nice euphemism for I'm an anxious wreck. Drinking, Paige said. Yeah, bad habits. Can't stop eating, can't stop drinking, can't stop running, can't stop shopping. Ellen, speaking of it. Defensive. I know that there is a character in me, a quality in me that is defensive. Now, the big problem here, and I better go on with this because we can keep hands going up all night. Drinking, codependency. Okay. What do we always do after we build this list? We ask a similar question, don't we? Is there anything anyone volunteered online or in the room that to some extent or not I have seen in myself? Or do we all share these same moments where we wish that the condition that we blame our character on were other than it were, which is why we're always trying to change conditions, because we believe the condition is 100% responsible for what it is that I do and become. Everybody still with me? We're going to take this apart, and you can only let this proper deconstruction of this present unconscious relationship that you have with your own mind, you can only allow this deconstruction to take place if you're willing to see what it is that we look at together and use the evidence of our everyday experience to validate it. Because if I can't do that, this is purposeless. The heart of our continuing conflict with every unwanted moment, the heart of that continuing conflict is that we blame it for our painful experience of it, when the truth is, and it's revealed all the time, and it is shocking, which is why we don't see it, what we're actually experiencing in that moment and blaming on the event is the experience of ourselves. That's what we blame the moment for, is the experience of myself. I don't know what to do with all of the things on that list, because in my mind, none of the things on this list we just built exist unless some condition triggers in my consciousness that character or quality that I wish I wasn't the instrument of, and yet that I continue to be forever. Has there ever been a moment in humanity's history where condition didn't produce, through blame, conflict with individuals, groups, or nations? Or is every war the relationship that exists when somebody blames the experience they have on the person or the predicament that they say made them feel that way? Yes or no? The pain, will you agree it's painful and frustrating? The pain and frustration, the anger and the fear born of resisting and reacting to any unwanted moment is not the cause of our negativity. That is not the cause of your negativity. You never get negative without having a reason outside of yourself for it, including blaming and hating yourself for what you see in yourself. Everything that you don't like about the world and about yourself exists to you somewhere outside of yourself as responsible for what ruins your life. Do you understand that? That is the way this consciousness sees everything. But what's the real cause of this negativity? We don't know what's beyond that resistance, do we? Because when the resistance comes up, the reaction follows, the reaction points to the person, the circumstance, the condition, and then I'm right back in that circular self, believing that what I'm experiencing in this moment is because of who you are and what you've said. There's no question in my mind. If you ever really watch yourself, it's almost instantaneous. And I say almost instantaneous because it's not fully. There's always a gap, but we're not going to get to that yet. What is the cause of this negativity? Take a deep breath. It is the unconscious conflict of trying to do the impossible. Be patient. All of that negativity, all of that conflict is born out of trying to do the impossible. And do you know what the impossible is that you're trying to do? You're trying to escape the experience of being who you don't want to be. You're trying to escape the experience of being in that moment who you don't want to be. There is no psychological pain without not wanting to be who you don't want to be. And all we know, and let's get down to it, all we know is to not want to be what I see I shouldn't be. I don't know. What else do you know to do? When somebody says this or they do that or the news goes like this and up comes that reaction, somebody says something you don't like, you're at loggerheads with somebody. It is impossible to fight with another human being if you understand yourself. It doesn't mean that there won't be something triggered that will want to, but in the split second that you become aware of this resistance to them, You understand that whatever the argument is that's about to ensue is because this person sees life that way and you see life that way. And unless they see life the way you see it, Mike, they are my enemy. And then I blame the pain of having an enemy on the person that has simply shown me something about myself that I don't want to see, and that is that I'm right no matter what. And that you need to get in line with what I understand, or I'm going to put you in line. That's what war is at every level, individually and globally. I'm trying to escape the experience of being what I don't want to be. Because it's built into me. I'm conditioned. The real meaning of it, I'm conditioned to meet a moment where I see something that is untoward or tormenting or wrong, and the minute that I see it, I'm conditioned to not want to see it, because that's not what a good person is. So I meet the moment where I see the fact of my present consciousness with the denial of what my consciousness is showing me in that moment because of what has acted on it. Just like that. And nobody would even think to question that. Because a good Christian, a good Jew, a good Muslim, a good Hindu, a good Buddhist, wherever they are, they live the ideal. They live the image of themselves. And the image is, I shouldn't be this way. This can't be in me. I see it, but it can't be there, because if that's there, then I'm not what I've imagined myself to be. And that is hell. Heaven doesn't create hell. Heaven releases you from hell when you understand the hell of trying to be a heavenly person according to your own image. One day, God willing, and I trust you'll work at this, you'll be stunned. You'll be shocked. Really, in the meaning of it, everything that's wrong with any moment is that I don't want to be me. I just don't want to be me right now. As if not wanting to be me actually proves that there is a me that's better than who it is that I'm trying to avoid. And what am I trying to avoid in that moment? I've been pointing to it. I'm trying to avoid the conditioned, aren't I? That's what I believe. Trying to control it, change it, take it over, get it straightened out. You're not trying to do any of that. You're not even involved in it. How's that? You're not even in it. You're in a consciousness that has determined that the way to deal with what it doesn't want to know is true about itself is to blame someone or something else for what is revealed in it. So I don't want to be me. That makes perfect sense to me. When you're negative, do you ever think to yourself, I wonder if there's an alternative to not wanting to be me? And not an alternative based on trying to control or change a circumstance. But I wonder if there's something beyond not wanting to be me. Because what else do I know? If you're honest, please, if you're honest, what else do you know besides not wanting to be you when you're angry or frightened or go through this whole list? Whenever I'm in any one of these states, I am not only convinced that the state exists because of a circumstance beyond my ability to control, but one day I'll get it all straightened out. I'll become Christ and I won't have any more problem and conflict with people. What else is there to do in that moment other than to start experiencing what I say is making me feel the way I do? When the reason I feel the way I do is because I don't want to be me in that moment. Now I want to ask you a question. Have any of you escaped not wanting to be you yet? How many relationships have you gone through? How many drugs? How many drinks? How many substances? How many different ways do you think? How many of you, sometimes you have something you need to do? Anybody ever have anything they need to do? And sometimes, would you rather do anything in the world other than what you know you need to do? Well, what do you think that's about? Why do you think that's so appealing? Because I don't want to be me who has to do that. So the alternative is to invent things to do so I can be someone who's busy. And if I'm busy, then I'm productive, which means I'm not really procrastinating at all. I mean, please see it. It's just this one giant lie perpetrated by a divided mind that has no understanding of itself at all. And thank God that there is a God. Whatever you want to call it. Thank God there's some intelligence in this universe. Because it's surely not in our churches or our political body, I can tell you that. But there's something that never stops bringing about a moment where it is possible to see that the only problem I have with life is I don't want to be me in that moment. That's the only problem there is. So it's not life that's a problem. The problem is in a consciousness that knows who and how and what things are supposed to be like. And when it's not like that, and it starts to feel the resistance that it does, it looks at reality and says, that's the problem, because all I want to do is get rid of this feeling I have of myself, because that's what every action we take is about. Why do you try to fix people? We go through the list. Why do you rush? You know why I rush? Because I don't want to be me where I am. I want to be me who gets somewhere where I'm not me anymore. But the big problem is what, Chica? Yeah, I'm still here. I can't fire myself. Look, I've said this before. Truth is a full contact sport. There's no getting around what you have been trying to get around your whole life, which is the avoidance of seeing that the only thing that ruins this life is that I bring something into this life, that something, more accurately, that something brings me into a relationship with life where through that relationship that seems to resist or otherwise reject my wishes, my hopes, my demands, my expectations, that all I know how to do in moments like that is to resist them. And then I don't know, the pain of the moment isn't the moment, it's my resistance. That's the pain. That's the pain. Now, I've shown over decades, and certainly to most of you longtime students, how can the moment be the source of conflict when the moment itself is in a ceaseless state of changing, of bringing about through its very movement the reconciliation of all the partners involved so that everything is reborn and released in every single moment? And if that's the case, how can there be resistance to the moment unless something in me is sitting in that moment and saying, this moment shouldn't be that way? And then when it says this shouldn't be that way, it's looking at the moment instead of understanding. The problem I have is that I can't stand being me. I hate being me. You don't hate the person. You hate what is inside of you that can't deal with what that person shows you about yourself. So that violence that sits inside of this consciousness is the perfect deceiver, because it never stops pointing to, through its reactions, what you need to blame in order to somehow or other, listen to this, escape being you. Bring up the second key lesson, would you please? Before I read it to you, a little summary. Denying what I see in myself in these moments does not prove that I'm not what I see. Denying what I see in myself in these moments does not prove that I'm not what I see. Do you understand that sentence? Is that too complex? So the second key lesson, it reads, Resistance reinstates whatever is resisted. So that the more we sit in judgment of any character we don't want to see in ourselves, the more assuredly we sentence ourselves to suffering it again and again. Isn't that evidential? And our solution to seeing these negative, and even negative, see, every word is so loaded. Nevertheless, that those moments in which I suddenly realize, good God, I'm angry again. I can't believe that I'm that selfish. I can't believe that I'm still saying yes to people when I know I shouldn't say yes. I can't believe that I'm summarily negative, that I complain all the time. The words, the actions are coming out of my mouth and body before I even know what's going on. And in those moments, you tell me what happens. And essentially, I shouldn't be like that. Yes or no? So something immediately says no. So important for you to see that. I hope to God it doesn't say yes. There is an immediate constriction, a contraction inside of myself, because here I am and I'm angry again. You shouldn't be like that. And then the parade of punishing thoughts and feelings that justify the condition that you didn't bring up and that you're a captive of. And yet, the more I talk to myself about the very thing that I see that I shouldn't be, the more I am handing myself over, listen, to the belief that I am what I see in myself in that moment. See, that's what you don't know. You're afraid that what you see in those moments that is dark and ugly and violent, you're afraid that's you, and you don't know the fear of that isn't your fear. But it belongs to a consciousness divided that has set itself up as someone who's always the opposite of the thing that they say they don't want to be anymore. How many of you are impatient? You judge yourself for being impatient. Why? Because I'm not impatient. I shouldn't be that way. I should be better than that. Yes or no? And have you ever gotten better than any of these characters or qualities that have been consistently dredged up any moment that brings it up? Have you ever gotten past it? You can talk to even people who were addicted to substances. They never really get past the condition. They may control it, but they live all of their life, for the larger part, in fear of the condition, because they know one way or the other that there is that tendency in their character, and they shouldn't be like that. They don't want to be this way. So control doesn't work. Not that you should relinquish yourself over to some destructive behavior. Please understand. That's where we start. Because the more I recognize that I'm actually out of control, the more interested I am in trying to understand what it is that's going on inside of me that would turn me over that way, that would betray me to myself. Resistance reinstates what is resisted. And the more I don't want to be a self-centered man, the more belief I have in this image of myself as not being that, and the more I'm identified with the image, the more I hate myself and don't want to be what I see I am in those moments. You see it with me? Bring up the third key lesson. Because if there's any truth at all in what we're talking about, then we need a glimpse of it. I need to actually be able to see that me not wanting to be what I am and what I'm feeling and me blaming, I actually need to see that clearly enough so that I can begin to have a new relationship with the reaction. Because I have no relationship with the reaction other than the consciousness that produces it. You see it with me? So here's the third key lesson. This is the solution. Take a deep breath, you're going to need it. Because this makes no sense at all to the conditioned mind that can't get beyond anything, and that we know we have to get beyond it, beyond the conditioning of the mind. How would it be possible to get beyond a conditioned mind unless there was a mind that can't be conditioned? How would I even know that I was conditioned? For instance, you really don't yet. You don't know that you're conditioned to not want to be what you are when you're being it. Third key lesson, the solution, if we can see it. The unconditional acceptance of what we're given to see is true about ourselves in the moment is the only way to end the conflict that we have with any moment that reveals to us what we don't know and don't want to see is true about ourselves. The unconditional acceptance of what we're given to see is true about ourselves in the moment is the only way to end the conflict that we have with any moment that reveals to us what we don't know and don't want to see is true about ourselves. Take it down. What's on the other side of resistance? What's on the other side of resistance? Acceptance. And you'll never even begin to suspect that to step over the boundary of that resistance requires that you leave behind that boundary, leave behind to go beyond it. You have to step into a world that you can't even imagine. And why would anybody even consider? Here I am, and there's so many. I mean, how many, 40, 50 things on that list? We didn't even touch it. Most of the hands were still in the air. Characters and qualities that I struggle with in myself, and I'm still struggling with them after 1,000 million years. How is that possible? Because there is something in us that keeps what we don't want to be in place by not wanting to be it. It literally thrives on, feeds on resistance. Beyond resistance is what? Acceptance and the flow are very similar. And I'm going to talk about that idea of what acceptance is in a few moments here. Why is that true? That acceptance? It takes a lot of work, you know. It takes years of suffering not wanting to be what you are. Literally, it takes years of uselessly suffering, wishing that you were other than you are. Because that's all I know to do when I see what I am, is to wish that I wasn't. I'll find some God, I'll have some puja, I'll make an altar, I'll drink cilantro juice, I'll do anything in order to somehow or other escape this terrible feeling of not wanting what I call life. It's not life I don't want. What I don't want is to be me as life has revealed me. I don't want to be that. I don't know what else to do. So why is that evident then, that this idea of acceptance, as difficult as it is? Because I already know and please raise your hands and ask your questions anyway. It's fine. We have to look at this. We have to be willing to at least approach the gate. Because we can feel so much hate so quickly. I mean, it's really extraordinary that humanity has fallen to the level where we can be instantaneously compromised by violence that tells us that someone is responsible, that there's this problem, that there's this thing coming downstream, and I have to do something. We can be instantaneously turned into a monster that denies seeing its own monstrous character, and never suspect that denying seeing and being what comes up in me in those moments could possibly be the continuation of the thing that I deny. Never even dawns on me. until one day I've done it for 1,000,000 years. You know, that's pretty much true for every individual on the path. As instruments of a consciousness that is who knows how old this consciousness is. Here and there are bits and pieces, little individuals who are the instrument of that. One day, somehow by a certain light, they suddenly see, sweet Jesus, I have been that 1,000,000 times, and 1,000,000 times I've hated being that way. I've hated what I'm like. I swear I'll never be like that again. Instead of understanding that in the very moment of the revelation, I'm brought into a place, a situation where if I'm willing to not interfere with the revelation, the very intelligence that produced it will release me from it. This is why one's attention is so critical. You have to have attention. Our attention belongs to resistance. It goes where our reaction tells us and what we need to do in that moment, instead of being able to recognize, as difficult as it is. See, again, I repeat this. We're not stunned by the enmity we feel instantaneously for people on the freeway, for news that we read. It doesn't stun us that we can hate somebody because they said something to us, that somebody isn't the way they're supposed to be. That doesn't stun us at all. And the reason it doesn't stun us is because the shock inherent in being a consciousness that is instantaneously set against everyone and anything, that doesn't just, that hates every enemy, is that I don't know what to do with that nature. I don't know how to handle it. And that brings me to the last part of our talk. You were raised in a world created by a consciousness that had already fallen to such an extent that this idea of knowledge of good and evil was so sewn into it that we became the instruments of a consciousness that believed it was good to hate what was bad. Because that's all of our upbringing. Don't be like that guy. Don't be like that. You're supposed to love your brother. Don't you share. I want you to share. I hate liars. I remember I think I was a bad kid. My wife says I wasn't a bad kid. My mother, who, by the way, she was a wealthy criminal. I'm not kidding. I mean, she was a wonderful woman, but there was nothing. 7 years has gone by, so they can't come get me. She was the consummate liar to herself. Now, why would I lie to myself about my own ambitions, other than I don't know what to do with them? Other than to lie to myself about them and then invent certain things that make it okay for me to be someone who lies. Yes or no? Do you see it? So one day she caught me in a lie. You would have thought that I was the one that ate the apple in the garden. I swear to God, I hate liars. It always stunned me that my mother had such an extraordinary reaction to that. Even as a boy, I was 6 or 7 years old. I hate liars. And I remember thinking, what? I mean, I shouldn't have lied. I get it. But not I get it because I shouldn't have lied. I get it because now my mother hates me and she took away what I lied about. Do you understand? There was no real remorse in it. I just knew that you shouldn't lie for fear of lying. That's how we are. Everything about us shouldn't be the way it is for fear of being that way. And the more I fear being a certain way, the more that fear ensures the conditions will come to bring that out in me. And the more it brings it out in me, the more I fear seeing what it brings out. And you can see that's a downward spiral, can't you? Yes or no? So what's the alternative? If you see it, you see, here's the beauty of it. What I'm describing to you is that we are in a ceaseless act of war. with ourselves. I am at war with myself every day. But I don't know I'm at war with myself because I'm at war with the guy that tailgated me. I'm at war with the person at the office who sneers at me. I'm at war with anyone and anything that challenges my precious understanding. That's what I'm at war with. That's what I think I'm at war with. But I'm not at war with these people. There wouldn't be a war with anyone or anything unless I came into that moment already knowing how they should be and the way things should unfold. So that I enter into this moment fully established in a series, a legion really of different eyes, different parts of myself, and depending on what happens, up pops a certain eye. And when it pops up because it's angry that someone doesn't respect it, then I believe that the person being disrespectful is the source of my pain. They're not the source of my pain. The source of my pain is my resistance to being what I am when they show me the way that I am. And this is what's crazy. And literally, why in the name of God would I not want to see a consciousness that not only has me captive, making bricks without straw, but that keeps me that way by always ensuring that anytime I see anything in myself that shouldn't be there, I know it shouldn't be there because it's there lashing me and telling me that shouldn't be like that, you shouldn't be this way. And the only thing I know to do is say, you're right, I'm not that way. Does saying that I'm not angry or that I have a right to be angry, does that change the punishment inherent in a consciousness that is dedicated to seeing that it keeps itself hidden from sight? Does it? What's the alternative? If you're following me. Everybody following me? What's the alternative? Well, let's look at it. We know, at least intellectually to some extent, God willing more deeply than that, we know as I'm talking through my experience, I know what my relationship is with those moments where I find myself in pain. I know what my relationship is. My relationship with the pain is that something in me doesn't want it and wants to find someone or something to change so that I can get away from it. That's the relationship I have with what I see in myself in the moment when it appears. Is it not? So you could call that a dead-end relationship, couldn't you? It's killing me, causing everyone I know to suffer, anyone around me. Smallest thing, and up comes this negativity. But when the negativity comes up, I always believe that the reason that I feel this way is because of what you did or said or what happened. I'm sure of it. So that I never, ever even begin to think that what I'm really resisting in that moment is what it's like to be me. That's why you can't sit still. That's why you're always running. That's why you're making lists and plans. What do you think all that's about? I can't stand being me. So I have to find someone to be. I can't stand being me. I have to make someone to be. One day you'll thank me for telling you the truth. Because if it's true that the real thing that's troubling me is that I can't stand being me, then anything I do to escape me doesn't not only help me escape it, but it convinces me ever more certainly that the reason I don't want to be me is because of you. Increasingly. You see the news and you're stirred up by it. I don't want to be me. But I don't think it's not me I don't want to be. I think it's you that needs to be otherwise. Because if you were, then I'd be happy to be me. Wouldn't I? Transition. Nice deep breath. And I'll show you this is true. I'll speak in the first person. It's difficult with teaching sometimes to use the plural, but we're talking about this consciousness. I can't be more than I am in any given moment. I can't be any more than I am, and I can't be any less than I am in any given moment. Period. But I'm always trying to be more than I am. And I'm always trying not to be what I am. Look at it with me. What does it mean I can't be anything more than I am in that moment, and I can't be anything less than I am? It means that in that moment where all this comparison is going on, and it's always going on, it's because somehow or other, something that I've imagined myself to be or that I shouldn't be moves to the forefront and then begins to, by its very existence, be in conflict with what I see as true. Just like that, I'm in conflict. Does not the smallest turn of a moment you don't want put you in conflict? And what I want you to see is the moment can't put you in conflict. The moment reveals a consciousness that's in conflict with itself because it knows how things should be, and when it's not that way, it knows what to do, and it knows to not want to be itself or to change you so that it can be other than it is. Do you see it or not? The experience of that conflict is the resistance in the moment. The conflict you feel is the resistance in the moment to being what you are, to seeing what you are. That's the conflict. That's the resistance. You say, no, I'm not resisting me. Ask Mike. Well, what is it that you're resisting? Well, idiots. What does any idiot in the world have to do with me being in pain? What does any idiot in the world, any political party, any religious affiliation, any ideology, any belief, any contrary opinion, what does that have to do with me being in pain in the moment? And the answer is that condition has stirred in this consciousness a certain character that when it appears isn't supposed to be there. I shouldn't be someone who is angry and hostile. And because I shouldn't be that way, I have to have reasons why I am that way. And as long as I have reasons why I am the way I am, nothing will ever change about what I am, because I'm never actually there where I am, what I am in that moment, allowing what that moment has revealed to release me from the very consciousness it came for that purpose. I'll show you. Is there one creature in all of creation that creates itself? Is there one creature in all of creation that creates itself? Yes or no? And if there's no creature that creates itself, that means that every creature is brought into creation for a greater purpose, if you will, but that it's unknown to itself. The creature does not know the purpose for its own existence. And yet it is in complete, constant relationship with all that is in creation by the powers that brought it into existence, whatever you want to call those powers. Yes? So that is evident, at least it should be, that somehow or other, if all of these creatures all have a purpose, they don't know what it is, but their purpose, when it's all put together, serves something greater than the individual creatures, then it should be, at least I think it should be evident, that there's some kind of intelligence, some kind of divine awareness that binds all of these creatures together in a systematic, perfectly ordered flow, so that everything that is unfolding in creation is touching everything at the same time, and nothing is changed in creation, that everything in creation isn't moved by it. You understand that? I'm trying to get through an idea in a hurry here. So is there anything ever wasted in nature? Whatever it reveals, at least to those of us who can understand it, it reveals as already being connected. So that whatever seems to be these disparate parts, like who would think somehow or other that a blade of grass has an intimate relationship with an ocean current? Or that spider on the wall has an intimate relationship with a star a million light years from here. No one would think that. And yet physics, at least now physics, proves it. Mystics have known this forever. And if that's true, that everything has this supernal awareness that runs through it, that means there are no disparate parts that are not in a constant state of reconciliation, being revealed and released at the same time by the conditions that are acting on them. I'm bringing this to a close. What's my relationship with the moment that reveals to me what I don't want to see in myself? What's my relationship with it? Is it part of this grand connection, part of this light of awareness that reveals the intimacy, even though everything seems so separate? Because don't you feel separate from the things you hate in yourself? Don't you? See, that's the problem. I'm not saying to love the things the way you think of love, but I'm saying to understand that what I see in myself, I'm given to see in myself. And I'm given to see in myself what I am given to see, so that I can begin little by little by little to understand the futility of not wanting to be what I see. There's nothing more futile than not wanting to be what you see. And this runs right into everything that we think about and know is true. All I know to do is to not want to be what I see when I see something that I don't think should be there. That's all I know to do. And yet if everything is connected the way I'm describing, not to mention the futility of sitting and being set against yourself, then it brings a person to a point where each of us accordingly has to understand, I'm going to have to find some way to go beyond this resistance. I'm going to have to find a way to go beyond the resistance, beyond this divided mind. And how am I going to do that? I'm going to bring everything to bear that I know, and I'm going to understand that the revelation of my present nature must be left wholly alone, and that I mustn't interfere with anything. I must become completely aware of how much I don't want to be what I am. Fully aware, not wanting what I am, but willing to see the part of me that doesn't want to see what I am. I must be willing to accept the whole thing. Because that's the one thing that you have never done. That's the one thing human beings have never done. Not my will, but thy will. You do that and you'll start to understand every moment that comes along and it shows you something in this consciousness. It is saying, do you want to go beyond the conditioning that is your captivity? Because that's all that is. A consciousness that is conditioned and has no possibility of considering its own estate. But you have something in you that can show you that. And if you'll allow that, if you'll agree to see what's there without resisting what you see, then you will see that very light releasing you from what you didn't know was within you. Let's take a break. We'll come back and have our dialogue.
Welcome back, everyone. We're ready to get started before the questions and answers here. I do have a really special offer, which I think you're going to like. It's called Guy Finley's Best Talks on the Beatitudes, a roadmap to self-discovery. I know for myself, when Guy over the years has really drilled in on the Beatitudes, which is out of Matthew 5 in the New Testament, and opened up so much for me. I'd always kind of had a very pedantic relationship to the Beatitudes and just kind of basic knowledge, and he's opened it up for me a lot. So what this particular program is, this is my little quick testimony on that, is it's 3 talks: 12 Steps to Spiritual Rebirth, commentaries on the Beatitudes; Talk 2, The Secret Story Hidden in the Beatitudes; and Talk 3, Bringing the Beatitudes to Life. And this is what we're offering. And for a donation of $10, you can get all of that. I think MP3 and MP4, is that correct? I think it might just be MP3. My fault on that one. But anyway, whatever it is, you're going to get the complete, just MP3, thanks, Kate, program on that. And it's well worth it. You can donate $10 or more and get that program, and all the transcripts as well that are with it. So a great study guide, don't miss it. And basically, it's a way that when you make a donation, we can give something back to you immediately. It's a win-win for us and for you. So do take advantage of that. And do we have a link to that? I don't see it on the paper here. I'm just missing that. But to get the Beatitudes program, we'll put up a link there in a minute to see. Oh, it's right there. guyfinley.org/Beatitudes. It's right at the bottom there on your screen. So do take advantage of that. We run a little later, so I'm going to go on right now, and let's get right to our questions and answers with Guy. And Guy, we have one person in the queue, and we have one written question. Are you ready to go, or do you have something else to add?
I'm ready and willing.
Okay, let's start with Robert first in the queue.
Hey, Guy, enjoyed your talk tonight. Thank you.
Hi, Robert.
I wanted to make a comment. You had said you made the statement while you were talking tonight. You said the other side of resistance is acceptance, and I just want to share a beautiful experience I had today. That you kind of like honed right in on what this experience was. So over the weekend, somebody needed me to do something and I wasn't available, and like they got super angry at me. I mean, like they like had just spazzed out, but I didn't feed into it. I just kind of let it go, like, well, you just have to be upset. But anyway, we go 2 or 3 days later to today, and all of a sudden my mind brought it up, like, hey, you let them get away with saying that to you, like I need to go back and check them for how they reacted. But I just became more aware of that state in my mind, trying to get me to revisit and relive this.
Yes.
And I heard something that you had, it was like, soon as I just became more aware, I heard something you had said Sunday. It was kind of, it just came to me and said, let's go past this and see what it is, because it's unknown. Yeah. Because my normal thing is to, either try to figure out how to fix it, yeah, or comfort it. But I just said, just be willing to, just go past, just be more aware of it. And soon as like I kind of heard your voice say that, it was a few minutes later in the day, and I just heard something say, well, why are you so upset? If somebody's in your life that falls out with a tantrum, an adult, like a child in the middle of the floor, is this really somebody you want in your life? Don't be upset, because some of the stuff they said was like, well, I'm never going to be around you again. It was kind of like, well, this is kind of a good thing. Like they kind of.
Yes, Robert. Let me stop you there.
Wait, okay.
Yeah, you know what? I know this sounds dramatic, and I suppose it is in a way, but I tell you it's true. Anytime any man or woman on this planet realizes that the first person that's punished by their anger is themselves, and that they would rather suffer themselves than cause another human being to suffer. The angels are there, they applaud that. Not that it makes us special or we should take any credit for that, but the realization of that new relationship with our own consciousness is the beginning of a new mind, not just in you, Robert, but for the whole of humanity, though it may take a long time for that to take place. It doesn't matter. What's critical is the steps that we take beyond these usual reactions so that we can be at once realized and released at the same time. I'm glad, Robert. Love these stories. Thank you, man. On we go, Doug.
All right, Guy, let's go next to James in the queue. James, do you want to unmute yourself by clicking on your little microphone? There you go.
Okay. Hi, Guy.
Hi, James.
Yeah, this talk is really hits home for me because I've been aware for some time now, probably the last couple months, that I've had a very hard time accepting myself.
Yes.
And to the point where I got in a car accident recently because I was in such a rush to get somewhere that I didn't even need to get very fast.
Yes.
And I could have ended my life. It was really disastrous. And it was actually my fault.
Yes.
Car accident, which I've never had happen.
Yes.
But I came out of it unscathed physically. But since that time, I've been listening to your talks, and I got your book and one of your books, and I've been working on everything. But the question I have is, sometimes it's very hard for me to accept myself or certain things I've done that have put myself and people I love in a very difficult position in life. And I know that it's basically I'm working on accepting it, but I'm wondering if I can accept it. Will there be some type of insight I have or intervention that can help me?
Let me interject.
Yeah, correct things.
Yeah, let me interject, James. I like nature because it allows us to understand certain simpler and yet more elevated possibilities in our own consciousness, so that when I go outside, sitting in my office and looking out the little bay view window that's there, just as an example, I've recently made friends with some turkeys. I can hand feed a couple of these toms now, and they have the most iridescent, beautiful colors, feathers. Now, when I see something beautiful, like a creature, one of the deer that seems to be more open to the relationship that we have, more conversational. I know that sounds crazy, but when I see that, there's no me accepting what I see. The seeing of something and the acceptance of it are a singularity. We have this idea, because we don't know any better, because psychopathic spiritual teachers and religious leaders pontificate on, you must learn to love yourself and accept yourself. No, you must learn to see yourself, James. In the seeing is everything that is necessary to know about what you see. In the seeing of something is the meaning revealed. So don't try to accept, James. You'll make yourself crazy. Because wanting to accept what I don't want to see is still me tolerating something I don't think I should have to do. But to see something clearly produces, in the very seeing of it, a new relationship with what is observed, because the observer, through seeing it, is no longer trying to effect a change or otherwise do something to what it sees. We're not here to handle ourselves. Yes, we must learn, and we do in this world, to have a certain deportment to carry ourselves and to not lose ourselves. But think about the insanity of it. What do you think happens when there's a mob? People trying to handle themselves, trying to be someone that should be a certain way. And God forbid that anybody should challenge how I've decided to accept myself, then I can't accept them. Seeing accepts everything that is seen. It's a completely different relationship, James. Don't try to accept what you see in yourself. Instead, see that there's something always measuring, James. I shouldn't have been speeding. Thank God I didn't hurt anyone, which is a right thought. But if I hadn't been anxious, then that wouldn't have happened. So I have to learn to accept that. No, you don't learn to accept that you were anxious. You learn to see the consciousness that's always anxious and forever trying to explain itself so it can accept its own explanations as the truth about itself. That's the best I can do for now, James. I intend to talk at length about this kind of seeing very shortly, so stay tuned. Let's go on, Doug.
All right, Guy, here we have a written question from Paige, and we have 2 more in the queue.
Yes.
Here's Paige's question. So I'm trying to escape the experience of being who I don't want to be. How do I stop?
Can I escape myself, Paige? Do you ever hear of anybody that was able to outrun their shadow? The first problem is that I believe I can escape myself. That's the first problem. And that problem is connected to me not wanting to be myself. And then one day I'm sitting there and I see I've not wanted to be myself. I've not wanted to be Paige. On some days I really like being Paige. I was going to tell you a story. You know, here's a guy, he says to his friend, let's go to that restaurant. I just love that stew they've got there. Yeah, me too, let's go. 2 days later, hey, let's go to that place where the stew is. I hate that stew. I don't want to go there. Wait a minute, I thought you said you loved that stew. Nah, I don't love that stew at all. 2 days later, hey, let's go get some of that stew. We love and hate ourselves and never suspect that somehow or other the very fact of loving and hating ourselves hides from us the consciousness that can't do anything other than that. So Paige, how do you stop not wanting to be you? See that you can't stop being you. See it, that's it. I can't stop not wanting to be me. Well, what if I actually understand I have no choice, now listen, but to be who I am. But to be who I am doesn't mean to accept that which I see. It means that I see what is in me, that by seeing it allows it to change. I don't interfere, Paige. I don't interfere. Not wanting to be what I am is the interference with what I am given to be if I'll allow what I am to make its way through me. Understood? I hope you've understood that, Paige. I know this is difficult for some of us. I knew it would be. I'm going to spend a couple talks trying to get to it. Just every time you get a chance, look and see, well, am I content with being me? Or is there something bothering me? And you'll see there's always something that you don't want to be. You'll just see it. And then you realize, you know what, I've not wanted to be me for like 1 billion years. And how far has that gotten me? Well, let's see. How far has it gotten me? Nowhere. So I need to go beyond that. Come on, John. John's on the stage.
Hi, my name is John, and related to your commentary to the last 2 questions.
Yeah.
I was once watching Hell's Kitchen with Gordon Ramsay, and one of the contestants forgot to turn the oven on, and that got him eliminated from the competition on that particular episode. There are mistakes, and then there are stupid mistakes. And John goes through spells where it's one stupid mistake after another. So it's like, before you go ask your boss this question, just think about it for a moment. It's right there, you know. Okay, I'm thinking. Nope, I'm not getting anything. Nope, I've thought it all the way through. Nothing's occurring. And so I go and ask the question, and they say, well, for start, you got to turn the oven on. You know, I've only been cooking for 10 years here, you know. Why didn't that occur to me? You know, and I'm very familiar with the judge that's super harsh. I mean, I can't tell you how embarrassing and how frustrating this is, especially when it happens over and over. And I'm very familiar with the judge that's like, you idiot, because it's so frustrating and embarrassing. That doesn't fix anything. On the other hand, this is what I was going to ask before, you know, the last two responses. On the other hand, to accept unconditionally the fact that I truly am an idiot, that doesn't feel right either. But it seems now that it's not the problem, the idiot isn't the problem, it's showing me the one that hates that condition. That's what I have to accept, to not resist and to see. I'm hoping that's...
No, John, that's not accurate at all, man.
Okay. So that I'm asking for clarification.
Yeah, I understand. Only God is good, John. I can't hate myself for being stupid unless I think I'm perfect. It's impossible. I shouldn't make mistakes. Who shouldn't? And when I hate myself for making a mistake or doing something stupid, do I learn anything about the consciousness that could have acted otherwise in that moment? Or does my resistance to the revelation of this action my consciousness take, or does resistance prove at once I am stupid, and the next time that event happens, I'll be sure to double down on judging myself? Anytime you hear and feel anything in you talking to yourself about what's wrong with you, understand that what's talking to you is what's wrong, not what it's pointing to. Well, let's get clear on it, John.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Over to you, Doug.
Okay, we have one more hand in the queue, and that is Namita.
Good.
Hi, Guy. So I have been taking an e-course on the Wisdom School on Mastering the Secrets of Higher Attention, and I've only gone through a first few talks.
Yes.
But and I've been working on it. So you talk about double attention.
Yes.
And I've been trying to practice that. So I wanted to know if it's relevant with this talk that you gave,
Absolutely, Namita. That's what real seeing is. Real seeing is, you could call it meditation. It is double attention, so that the observer and the observed sit and are aware of whatever it is that's going on. All of that is a one way of saying that there is a completely different relationship that our dissatisfaction with our present relationship with life brings us to. But we cannot come to the new relationship till we've expired completely the dissatisfaction. And one day a person says to himself or herself, you know what? I'm sitting here and I'm in pain. I want to run, I want to do, I want to go, I want to distract, I want to relive it, I want to go cover this again, I want to do all that. And I know for a fact that not one of those things is going to change the fact that I don't like what I am and who I am right now. That there is something in me that is summarily resisting everything. And when I sit with that, I will go beyond the consciousness creating it. Going beyond the consciousness is the same as seeing the consciousness. That's what we're after. True seeing. In true seeing, there is a new kind of revelation and a release from that which we couldn't see before. Namita. Stay tuned.
Okay, so I just, Guy, I just one clarification. So this doesn't mean, so I feel like I'm not giving like my whole of my attention to the resistance or the contraction, but it feels like part of my attention is not in it. So I just want to make sure that I'm not escaping.
All right, listen,
I don't know if it's the whole attention or
Namita,
part of the attention.
Are you ready? Write this down,
Yes.
okay? If you can.
Yeah. I'm ready.
The task isn't to be perfect. The task is to see ever more perfectly. The task isn't to be perfect. That's hell. The task is to see ever more perfectly the hellish nature that compares everything it does to what it imagines it should be. Don't try to be perfect, Namita. Try to see Namita as perfectly as you can. And there's no failing at that. There's just learning more and more clearly, persisting more deeply, being willing to go through what you are given to see. That's it. Then leave the rest to that which brought you to this place where you're even entertaining these ideas. Truth will never lead a person to a place where it doesn't take that person beyond that point if the person will be willing to see that of themselves they cannot go beyond it. Good night, Namita. Good night, everybody.